attendance and trying to make the playoffs, and the Ravens trying to take it to 3-0 this weekend. We're going to go off course here and bring in a guy that I have a lot of respect for. I've read his writing for many, many years. He's written a couple of books as well that I have on my shelf. This is a Sports Illustrated production, but it hits close to home because it involves Michael Phelps, who has been a controversial figure, I think, in our town, and certainly a world-renowned athlete and a guy that books are written about at this point. He is certainly the greatest Olympian as and you see it out. I've seen the piece, Sports Illustrated, the greatest Olympian. There it is right there on Amazon. You can check it out at si.com. Costa Kennedy is the editor of this book, and is it a book or is it a magazine? It's kind of somewhere in between now, isn't it, right?
Yeah, we call it a bookazine. So imagine, Nestor, that a book and a magazine meet each other, they like each other, one thing leads to another, and they have a child. And it's kind of like that with the bookazine. It's a format kind of a magazine, but no advertisements at all. It's a sort of a dive into the single topic, but it has the kind of really nice upgraded magazine stock that has beautiful photos and all of that.
Yeah, I'm not Phelps' biggest fan. I'm from Baltimore, and I've been around town. I've been doing this for 25 years. I remember when he was a kid in the pool and all that. And the thing really hasn't played out real well here. I know every 4 years it plays out well. He jumps in the pool. He swims like a dolphin. I mean, no one's going to dispute any of that. The will, the drive, the physicality, all of that. No one's going to dispute his Oriole fandom or his Raven fandom. But he certainly has had a very conflicted life at doing other things well. And I know you've written books and have covered athletes forever. Guys that are as good at one thing as they are, they're usually really good at that, and they really struggle in a lot of other areas in their lives.
Yeah, that's often true. I mean, I think that you think about the passion that it takes and the commitment that it takes to be involved in something. That's part of it, right? You need a sort of mono focus, which can come at the cost of other things. And I think that's probably true of Michael Phelps, as it is with other athletes, as you said. I mean, I think that one thing that humanized him a little bit was when he had his DUI. He went into rehab, and he kind of owned it. I mean, you've been around athletes a lot where there's a lot of excuses are sometimes made, and athletes, just like people, can go two different ways in those situations.
Well, they all run and hide for a little while, right? I mean, it's how they come out the other end. Right. That's when we really judge them. I don't think you judge them in the moment. You judge them 10 years later and say, where's Doc Gooden's life right now, and where's like you start to see these things with the hero worship. You know what I mean? Like, that's something most of us will never experience and live under the weight of, and some handle it like Brooks Robinson has in our community for 50 years, and some don't, and some...
But I mean, somebody like Brooks, and I'm a big baseball person with my DiMaggio and Rose books. I know you clearly are. Brooks is a special person. I mean, and there aren't a lot of people like Brooks Robinson. So that's in life or in sports. So I mean, that's a high standard, and I agree. We hope
but that is the
there.
Standard, though. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That shouldn't be the standard. I hate when we lower our bar. You know what I mean? When we just say the rules are different because why? Because they have millions of dollars? I mean, I know the celebrity thing is not an easy life to lead. My little ounce of it, being on the radio for 25 years, the things that have been done to my family, the threats that all the craziness. I can't imagine if I had $100 million and I'm, rolling around in that sort of a circuit, that it becomes difficult. And for Phelps, even more so, his counterpart in the pool down there in Lochte, who so craves attention, right? From a straight psychological aspect. These are guys who go into the pool and become the most famous guys in the world for 2 weeks. And then they go back to some other life, and then they have to go do it all over again to be relevant all over again, right?
Yeah, and it's awfully difficult. But, you bring up Lochte, and Phelps has distanced himself from that kind of behavior. We haven't seen a lot of that. And I'm not sure what it is about his behavior that bothers you, or I know that sometimes doesn't play well in and around Baltimore. But remember, there's a lot of guys, certainly, the Ravens are no stranger to them, and nobody else, and nobody in the NFL is, who really have done some things that are kind of reprehensible, and
have been treated thusly.
Yeah, I mean, we're just talking about, maybe he's not as kind of warm and cuddly or quite as out there and open as we would like our athletes to be. But I don't think he's done anything, offensive really in that way. At least I don't see it that way. I know that people. Again, if you've been around him for 25 years, and when he first started coming up, different things get built in. But to me, he's a guy who not warm and cuddly, but certainly very relatable. And I certainly more than honor not only his achievement, but his ability, this time to come back from a low place and refocus and get himself back to not only competing in the Olympics, but once again being dominant. That speaks to a certain resolve that goes beyond just talent, and it is something that I think is worth admiration for that. Not necessarily the whole man, but that certain part of it definitely seems worthy to me.
Well, it is incredible. I mean, again, seeing this kid in the pool, and now seeing him now, and seeing the bong thing, seeing the DUIs, the gambling thing, all of the things that he's gone through, he still finds this way to get in the pool, even at this advanced stage, long beyond when anyone else would. Certainly isn't all that hip on being famous. I mean, let's be quite frank. Fame hasn't treated him nearly as well as the pool has, right? Now has this family, but did it again. And did it against kids half his age who should be better than him. Someone should be coming to catch him, and they can't. And I think it's a fascinating story, but I think it's not this fascinating if he were the All-American boy and didn't break the rules. And quite frankly, I think Lochtey's sort of bad guy thing, and now he's doing the Dancing with the Stars thing, it was a very mixed bag this Olympics for me, right? And I think Phelps is part of it. There's good and bad to Phelps, and there's certainly good and bad to the Olympics. And I know you guys tried to cover that as much as anyone, and NBC accused of the cover-up and all that stuff, and what has happened to the favelas down there, what the corruption that goes into these games, and the servitude to the kings and the lords of the Olympics. The same thing with FIFA. I mean, we're going through all of that as well. But these celebrated things where these heroes come from are filtered through this horrific political and sponsorship and financial and social cost in so many places.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with everything you're saying. I view it as kind of two separate things. You have the athletes, and the only place that they are allowed, really, that they can show their wares and apply their craft is, of course, in the international national tournament during the interim.
But this is the one that matters, right?
The Olympics, right? This is the big one that matters. So they don't really have a choice, right? They can't say, "Oh, I don't like the way Rio did it. I'm not going to go. I'm going to go somewhere." Unless it's really extreme. You're talking about everything you work for your entire life. You have one time to show it, or maybe you go to a couple Olympics, right? So I see that sort of the athlete part of it is kind of a separate thing, but there's no question that the way the IOC is set up and this bidding process, we just saw Rome drop out. It's completely, if it's not corrupt, and it certainly smells like it is in many ways, it's certainly completely disincentivized to be ethical and moral, right? You're competing with huge amounts of money and luring these sort of captains of industry for what? Not for very little economic benefit to your city, for a little bit of notoriety for a few weeks. I think the thing they need to do is find maybe 5 places, a place on each continent, maybe 7, I don't know, whatever it is, Summer, Winter Olympics, and just rotate between them, and let that go. Then you're not having to displace people like they did in Brazil. I mean, they're tearing down homes to build stadiums.
Well, the stories we see of what's been left in Greece and what's been left in these other places.
Absolutely.
I was in Sydney, Australia 2 years ago, and I'm going back. It's a Springsteen thing, Costa. You know what I'm saying? So, and I saw their complex there, and it's lovely, and they actually use it. And Sydney's an international place people want to go to, so there is some benefit there. But I don't know what the benefit of building 15 stadiums in Qatar is at this point.
No, I agree. I mean, so I shouldn't say that it's completely without benefit, and obviously you can do things better or worse in how these are executed and how they carried out. But I do think that the process it invites corruption, and it invites people doing things that are not to the benefit of their city or their community as a whole, because you're trying to please very specific wants and needs, and you're competing against other places that want to do that too. So it seems, I just think that the process needs to be revamped. That's not to say that it's 100% bad, but I think that there's a lot of problems with it that need to be looked at.
He is Costa Kennedy, longtime writer, author, Sports Illustrated editor of the new book, Michael Phelps, The Greatest Olympian. It's been on sale at newsstands. You can check it out. Michael in the Pool. It's the commemorative edition. It's got blue water and a red, white, and blue flag on it. I don't know how else to describe it. Google it. It's out on Amazon. S.I. and Michael Phelps, The Greatest Olympian. Costa, the Phelps, the foil for Phelps and, the Borg and the Connors and the McEnroe and the Martina and the Chrissy. I guess it's Lochte right in our culture because there is no bad guy wearing a Russian flag that can suit up against Phelps in the pool. The Lochte thing became, for a week, the biggest story in the world of honor, lying, stereotyping, police baiting, international incident, all of it. I mean, all of it. The media was involved in it, the use of the media, the abuse of the media, the lying to the media. Boy, it sure put a stench on the last one. I don't think anybody was even watching the soccer games or, the other things that were going on at the end. It was like following this drama with this, quite frankly, like he's almost like a Spicoli character, like the ultimate athlete meathead whenever he sat down and has been interviewed. Now he's dancing. I found it to be kind of disgraceful, and I travel the world with an American flag and American passport, and all the sort of things people hate about us when we travel other places, was a little bit encompassed in this story, I thought, on both sides of the political spectrum, because I don't know that I believe anything I heard out of Brazil either, but I know he was lying.
Oh, I mean, it was completely, because it played into sort of this imperialist thing, right? You're going to take advantage and blame. There was all this fear of crime and police corruption and everything in Brazil. Now, listen, maybe some of it went on that we didn't know about, but it certainly was not as widespread as people were afraid of. The athletes, none of them complained about being in danger. So it wasn't the issue that people thought. But then Lochte is kind of capitalizing on that fear, which is, an awful thing to do and something that some politicians really like to do. And you see how it happens. And when that happened there, people really responded as you are feeling, unhappy with how Ryan Lochte, he's representing us. He's not only an American, he's there to swim and represent the United States of America in this huge international setting. And not only did he lied about it, but also like the way you can imagine they're behaving at this.
But he's not a 15-year-old idiot. You know what I mean? Like, this is a kid that's been through this a couple of times. This is a kid that's had the spotlight of fame on him and has seen what it's done to Phelps, quite frankly, which we talked about earlier. Fame's not always easy, but to bring attention upon yourself like that to make a headline, I found it to be reprehensible, and even more so coming from someone that is more on the side of grown-up. It's not his first time out of the country with a passport, swimming in a pool, and knowing somewhat what some of the decorum and the expectations are here.
You're absolutely right. I mean, I don't know what to say. I mean, the only thing I'll say is that it started getting a little overboard. Remember, he didn't kill anybody. He didn't hurt anybody. He just behaved in a way that is like, completely not something you can respect and embarrassing to say the least. And for him to do that, and honestly, still keep an arrogance about him as if, hey, this is what we do. I mean, I think he views himself as much as a reality star as a swimmer or a person, and that's a little bit less than what we want out of our athletes and out of our representatives.
Yeah, I would say, a celebrity for celebrity's sake. And in the case of Michael Phelps, what's the future for him, Kostya? I mean, he's not coming back to Baltimore. I mean, that's pretty clear. He's going to live out in Arizona and do his thing out there. He's got a pool here. He certainly has built a base here with the Ravens and the Orioles and sports figures and the like. I really, I don't know him. I've never been given, all I know of him is any time I've been in his presence, he just didn't feel like a dude I wanted to know. And I know, it's not like I'm lost amongst Baltimore athletes or celebrities. I know most of them, get along with most of them or whatever. But he's a guy that's always been sort of chilly to the Baltimore side of things and now has moved on. I'm just wondering, I mean, is he going to do commentary every 4 years in the pool? I mean, what is the future for him as you see it?
I mean, I think we could see that, certainly, him commentating. There's no question people would be interested in what he has to say. We'd see how well he do that, but he certainly knows the sport. I think he'll get involved in some kind of coaching, some kind of building up swimming. I think he does care about the future of swimming and having it be a sport that people embrace and follow. And he's one of the reasons, not the only reason, but he's one of the reasons that the swimming program is in such strong shape, along with obviously a lot of success on the women's side as well. So I think he'll involve himself in that. I also, Nestor, I think he totally believes he's done, and when he says that, that's honest. But I do think, if it's a couple of years from now and he's swimming in the pool, and
hey man, when it's all you know, right? I mean, come on, you covered all those boxers, Sugar. When it's all you know and you see it as no one's ever done that before, that's his thing.
But it's not only that. It's not only that. Like, the thing about swimming and track is that you kind of know how good you are, right? So if you're a boxer, a baseball player, a football player, and you want to come back, basketball player, whatever, you're not going to know really until you're against that elite competition how good you are, right? You can be drilling the ball in batting practice, whatever it is. You don't know until you're out there. In swimming, your times are your times. Now, yes, it's a little different in the big stage. It's a little different with elite athletes swimming next to you, but it's not a whole new game, right? So you know that if your times are what they are and they're close to being gold medal level in the pool, then that's what they're going to be, barring a bad swim. So that can really be incentive for somebody in a sport like swimming or track to say, hey, look, I know I'm going to compete if I go out there. You might not know you're going to win four golds and a silver, but you're going to compete when you see your time. So I think it can be very tempting for him in a couple of years if it does bear out that his times are good and they're on a level with what people are swimming in competition.
I would say this, and having been around athletes my whole life and covered him same as you, he looked like he was having a good time. It didn't look like this was a painful, arduous, and I know there's all the hours in the pool, but that's all he knows, right? So, that was the life he has, and it's a life he can choose to live again. I'm kind of with you that it's like watching Big Papi, to move it to baseball, and us getting our ass kicked around here. We might not even be in the playoffs, gosh. But, Big Papi right now. Like, I'm watching him do this sort of joyfully, but it's not easy, and everybody around the team says his wheels are bad and this is the end. But when you can do it to that, it's one thing to be hitting 208 and get chased out because you can't do it anymore. It's a whole different thing to walk away when you know you can, right?
Right, no question. I mean, I think that, first of all, I think your O's are going to be fine, right?
All right.
I don't know about winning the division, but you're at least going to get that coin flip game. I think there's something to be said. The analogy with Papi is good with Phelps, because when you're nearing the end of something, and we've seen this with other athletes, if you can still do it at or close to your level, and both of these guys are doing it at an extremely high level, it is enjoyable, right? It is fleeting. Hey, I've got a month left of doing this. I've got 20 games left, whatever it might be.
It was like AC/DC the other night in Philadelphia. It was the end. You know what I mean? The end's the end, right?
The end. If you got to go on with Axl Rose, you go on with Axl Rose, but you still make it happen, right?
Well, unfortunately for Michael Phelps, there is no Axl Rose, and I guess maybe for the Red Sox, maybe there's a Bradley or a Betts or a Bogarts or who knows. We thought it might have been a Chris Davis at one point, but he's ours to keep apparently. Kosh, it's always great having you on, man. I love talking sports with you. We got baseball coming up, football here. It's a good time of the year, and I have absolutely seen the MAGA bookazine, whatever it is. It is Michael Phelps, the greatest Olympian. He is Costa Kennedy from Sports Illustrated. You can follow him out on Twitter, online, writing books. One day I want to talk Pete Rose with you, because I want to get down to the nitty-gritty of that, because we talk about flawed athletes and personalities. He's a fascinating case study for me.
Pete was an absolutely fascinating person to write a book about. Plenty of stories there. Anytime you want to do it, just give me a holler and we'll talk a little Pete.
Love having you on, man. There he goes, Costa Kennedy from Sports Illustrated. The Michael Phelps, the greatest Olympian. It's a paperback. It's on the newsstands. You can grab it or Amazon it. It is out there and available. I'm a very available individual. Nasty at WNST.net reaches me. Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Snapchat, Instagram. Next Wednesday night, we're at a Greenmount Station in Hampstead in beautiful Carroll County, pastoral Carroll County, which means I might get some fresh peaches on the ride, which I need. We're going to be joined by Alex Lewis, who's the new left guard, rookie guard. We're going to have him out with us. We're going to have some crab cakes. Ryan Jensen's going to hang out with us from the Ravens. Come on out. We're going to swab for the Bone Marrow Registry, and for There Goes My Hero. It is Wednesday night, 7:30, Greenmount Station. Be there, be square, and get some crab cakes because they're really, really tasty. The Buy a Toyota Audio Vault is there 24 hours a day to download podcasts. Listen when you want, where you want, how you want. We also stream live out on Facebook Live and on our YouTube WNSTV channel as well. Want to email me? nasty@WNST.net finds me. Facebook, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Instagram. Anywhere in the world we go, you now go, and we go with you. We are WNST.net, AM 1570, and WNST Taos in Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore sports.